Hi, everybody. This is Bob Gale, co-creator of Back to the Future, and you're listening to Brad Gilmore.
Doc! Okay, relax, Doc. It's me. It's Martin.
Oh, it can't be. Just sent you back to the future.
Oh, I know you did send me back to the future, but I'm back. I'm back from the future.
Great Scott.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
The way I see it, if you're gonna build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
Whoa, this is heavy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Back in the Future, the podcast, the only podcast looking back in time to greatest film trilogy of all time, Back to the Future. I'm your friend in time, Brad Gilmore, and this is a fun time capsule that I have set up for you on this great show. We watched a video a couple weeks ago about the 20 things you may have missed in Back to the Future Part 3. They have actually two other companion videos to that of things you missed in Back to the Future Part 1 and Part 2, so I might watch those. I have so many great episodes planned with so many great guests. Can't wait to break all these down for you. But here's the thing. I got an email from somebody recently about interviews that I have, and can I see the videos of any of these interviews? And the answer is yeah. To a lot of the interviews I've done in the last year or two, there are videos of them. I can put them up on my YouTube channel. You can see stuff like with Francis Lee McCain. I have a video for Steve Franks, I believe. If it's not on there, it will be on there very soon, that I did last year. There's a lot of videos that you can go check out over there on my YouTube channel, which, by the way, is being updated with all kinds of content. Whether you're into pro wrestling, you're into movies, you're into just celebrity interviews in general, all new content on my YouTube channel, Brad Gilmore. It's all it's called. And it's nothing special. It's nothing crazy title that I came up with. It's just called Brad Gilmore. I found the simpler titles are better. Like for this show, Back to the Future, the podcast. Pretty easy. So you can go check out my YouTube channel. I'm trying to grow that this year. I already have the Reality Wrestling YouTube channel with over 650,000 subscribers, but my Brad Gilmore one has like 100-something. So I got to get that over to 1,000, at least this year, so I can get monetized, and we'll see if we can grow this thing. I'm trying TikToks out, which you can follow me on TikTok at Boat Gilmore. Brad Gilmore was taken, so I'm at Boat Gilmore over there. On all other social media, at Brad Gilmore. I'm a pretty easy guy to find. You can go to my website, theboatbradgilmore.com, find new videos, podcasts, all the things that I do over there. Have a new album coming out with my band, 2011. Anyway, I'm ranting. But you can see certain interviews that I've done in video form over there. I think even my Don Full interview is up on the YouTube channel, which is a really cool edited video. You should go check that one out. But this one, today, we're looking back at some of the moments that stuck out to me about that video from What Culture and things that I think, things that I thought about them, and I said, man, I'm not sure about these. I need to ask the man who knows, and that's Stephen Clark. So Stephen Clark did give me some answers, and we're going to get into those. But I also wanted to ask all my pinheads this. Who's going to Back to the Future, the musical, in New York? I would love if we could put together a big group of us. Some of you I know already probably live not too far from New York City if you don't live in New York City. I know New York's one of our biggest states that we get listens in. But I would love to organize some sort of meetup for all of us to be able to get together and go see this as a family of pinheads. Go see Back to the Future, the musical, because I believe it's June is when the previews start, but the official premiere date is August 3rd. So if you are interested in this, shoot me an email, bradgilmore@can'twaitforever.com. That's Brad Gilmore at can'twaitforever.com. If you're interested and we can get a group big enough, perhaps they do group discounts on tickets. I'm not exactly sure. But if we can make this happen, I would love to watch Back to the Future the musical, and then we all have a big sit-down podcast afterward. And we can sit and chat about the musical, what we like, what we didn't like. But anyway, we'll get there in the future. Right now, here's Stephen Clark's answers to my questions on Back to the Future, the podcast. All right, guys. So, if you remember when I did the 20 things you may have missed in Back to the Future Part 3, the video by What Culture, we did it a couple weeks ago, I said that I had several questions. Some of the things didn't jive with me. Like, I'd never heard them before. Or not that I'd never heard them before, but I had heard some of them, not heard others. I was confused. I was unclear. And normally when I have some sort of unclarity, if you will, and not unclarity. That was bad. Whenever I have one of those, I try to go to the man who runs backtothefuture.com, Stephen Clark. He is someone I've always leaned on when I had questions like this. So I shot him a long email with 4 questions. And I wasn't sure if he was going to have time to get a response over to me. It was within an hour or two that he got back with me and gave me the answers to these questions. So why don't we go through them together as a family. So here is my first one. When Marty wakes up in 1885, he's being attended to by Maggie McFly. Before he gets out of bed, he looks under the covers to check his pants to make sure they were still on, alluding to the Lorraine having his pants on her hope chest in Back to the Future Part 1. That's where we got the purple underwear and the Calvin Klein and all that. I said, my question was, do you know if this was a scripted moment or was it an on-the-day improv or direction? It was such a small moment, I was just curious. Because I thought, who would think to script that? And then I thought to myself, if anybody were to script that, it would be the Bobs. But I said, man, it just seems like such a small moment to think about. And here was Stephen Clark's answer. It's not in the script per se. The July 6th, 1989 production draft of the script on page 38 simply says, Marty gets out of bed, parentheses, he's still in his clothes. He takes a brief look around the room. So Stephen Clark said probably not improvised, but also not 100% scripted either. Big revelation for me, right? I mean, look, what it says in the script. Marty gets out of bed. He's still in his clothes. Obviously, a nudge of some sort of reaction that he should make, but not necessarily Marty looks under the covers to reveal that he still has pants on, right? But that is also such a moment that has to pay off with your repeat viewings of that movie, of all the movies, and it really is contingent upon you seeing Back to the Future 1 and remembering the moment. Because now when we watch these movies, we can watch them back to back to back. But back then, if you had a VHS player or a Betamax player or a Laserdisc player, something where you could watch Back to the Future Part 1 before 2 and 3, awesome. But for some people, they went into Back to the Future 2 having only seen Back to the Future in the theaters in 1985, 4 years prior, and then having to remember another movie they saw 5 years ago when this movie came out in, was it May of 1990? You know, it's somewhat of a big ask if you didn't have the benefit of repeat viewings to have this joke pay off. So the fact that it wasn't 100% scripted or improv, but there was meant to be an allusion perhaps to the first draft or for the first movie in this movie, that's an awesome thing for the Bobs to script. And how confident were they that future fans would recognize that moment? Oh, so good. Okay. My next question was this. The clock tower, when Marty and Doc take their picture at 8:08, seems to reference 88 miles per hour. Remember when I did the whole thing of, I wasn't sure about this. I was like 808, 88. It's like, what? Which one is it? I couldn't figure it out. I was like, I've heard this before, but I just never fully believed it. And then as a goof, I meant to say to Steven, in parentheses, I never thought so. And then I said I always thought so for whatever reason, but this is what my question was. The clock tower when Marty and Doc take their picture at 8:08 seems like it's a reference to 88 miles per hour. I always thought so. Meant to say I never thought so. But there's some fan disagreement about this. Do you happen to know? This is what he says. Yeah, I don't think that's a reference to 88 miles per hour. Never heard Bob, Gale, say anything along those lines before. So there you go. I mean, that's pretty definitive. More so than his first answer. He's saying that Bob never said anything about the 808 being 88. It does seem a little coincidental, however. So if I ever talk to Bob Gale again, I might ask him this specific question just to know for sure. But I really take Stephen Clark's word as almost close to gospel as you possibly can. The only person that you can really hear it from better would be one of the Bobs, and specifically Bob Gale. So there you go. 808, not 88 miles per hour. Number 3. Have you ever heard as to why Buford killing Marshall Strickland was taken out of the movie? I've read that it was due to the fact that it would be too dark, but my thinking is we knew he was a killer already and would have added some good pathos for the Strickland character in the future. Just curious if there's any insight. This is what he said. I'd have to go back and listen, but I'm pretty sure Bob covers this in audio commentary in the original DVDs from 2002, and I assume those are still on there in the Blu-ray and 4K. My correct recollection that it was considered a bit too dark. Which, I guess, now thinking about it again, no one else dies in Back to the Future, right? No. I mean, Doc technically dies. He was shot. And then he does die, but we don't see him shot in the third movie. We hear about him being shot. We see him shot in Back to the Future 1 by Libyan terrorists when he's trying to steal some plutonium because he promised to make them a nuclear bomb. A little dark on that one. That's a little dark. But still, I mean, I kind of agree with Bob here. You know, Back to the Future Part 3 was probably the lightest of all 3 movies. The most fun, the most adventure-oriented. And perhaps seeing, although not a beloved character per se, but an actor we're familiar with playing the lineage of a character that we would come to appreciate with future viewings, maybe seeing one of those characters who we have a connection with being killed and not being brought back with the benefit of time travel. Maybe that was a great cut. Anyway, I go back and forth on that one. Okay, and my final update for you on this time capsule was my 4th question. In the video, Doc had several new dogs. They claimed Doc had several new dogs named after scientists, Galileo, Archimedes, and Newton, due to the signs that are on display in his 1885 workshop. I did a little Google after that video, and then some people said they were his horses. So I said, I thought that they could have been his horses, but I wanted to confirm if you knew. And here was his response. Not seeing anything in the script. First of all, in my head, like I sent him these questions, and Stephen Clark like pulls out his scripts and goes through them for confirmation. Phenomenal. Okay. He said, I'm not seeing anything in the script about additional dogs for Doc. Could be a reference in the novelization by Craig Shaw Gardner. Some fans take Craig's novelizations as a gospel, but I don't go that far. Now, there is I believe was it Newton or Galileo? A dog named in some of the novelizations. But he doesn't agree so. So and he didn't say if it was horses or not. But I think that they could have been horses. It seems like something he would do, name his pets after scientists, but I don't know. This one was probably like the most still up in the air one of all the answers that I got, but I don't know. What do y'all think? I think it's the horses. I don't. How would he have time to have all those dogs? Doesn't make sense. And we never see them, or he never references them. We just see signs. And this is what he said last. He said, "You can share my thoughts if you wish, though I don't consider them definitive, as I did not go back and listen to the audio commentary, nor did I read the novelization. But I did look at the production draft of the script, mainly going off memory, which I admit isn't the best anymore." Steven, either one of ours, right? Either one of ours. I like second guess myself when I'm thinking about these movies sometimes. I'm like, wait a minute, did that happen? Like I just did it with someone dying. I'm like, did anyone die? I don't think anyone died. And again, George McFly was murdered. Hold on, George McFly was murdered. But again, off screen. And then he's back at the end of the movie. It's very, very, very difficult. Very difficult to say. Very difficult to say. But anyway, man, those were our updates from the purveyor of BackToTheFuture.com, Mr. Stephen Clark. This was just a quick little time capsule for you because I thought it was really awesome that he took the time to respond to these and give us clarity on some of these questions that I had after watching that video. Hopefully you took something away from this as well. If you ever have a question about Back to the Future, you can always ask me. Stephen Clark and Bob Gale have frequently asked questions published on the BackToTheFuture.com website. And by the way, I just got a sick replica of the clock tower as a wall clock in my studio. I redesigned my studio wall for 2023, and I have it up there at the top of the collection. I'll post a picture on my Twitter at Brad Gilmore, and you can see it. Always great merch over there at BackToTheFuture.com, and Stephen Clark does a really good job about shipping them out and shipping it out fast. I ordered that, and it came from Killeen, Alabama, all the way to Houston, Texas, within like 2 days. He's like Amazon. He's like Amazon. It's almost as if he has a Back to the Future time machine, a DeLorean, and he just skipped over a few minutes or a few hours and was able to deliver that clock tower. Awesome gifts over there. So definitely if you have a Back to the Future fan in the family that you want to get them a gift of, or you want to buy yourself something nice, BackToTheFuture.com has great merchandise, and they're always adding new stuff. So make sure you go do that. I want to give my thanks again to Stephen Clark for those answers, and I want to give my thanks to all of you for checking out Season 10 of Back to the Future, the podcast thus far. Having a really good time doing it. And make sure you check out other podcasts like Clue the Movie and the Hall of Fame and The Collection, all shows that I do. So if you like me, you might like those. But if you just want to stick around here, I understand you. We're all pinheads. We like talking about these movies incessantly. And we're going to continue to do so on Season 10 of Back to the Future, the podcast. But until next time, I'm your friend in time, Brad Gilmore. This is the only podcast looking back in time at the greatest film trilogy of all time, Back to the Future. And I will see all of you in the future.